Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up, because what's unfolding in North Africa right now feels like the political version of a Hollywood comeback movie. Except this ain't scripted, and nobody in Washington, Paris, or London is laughing. Across the windswept deserts of Libya, a familiar echo is rising again, shaking the same Western capitals that once cheered his downfall. And that echo belongs to Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, the older, quieter, sharper son of Muammar Gaddafi, a man the world tried to erase, bury, forget, and delete like an embarrassing old file. But guess what? He didn't stay deleted. He came back with receipts, and now Western powers are sweating harder than an iPhone at 2% in the middle of nowhere. So tonight, we're diving into 10 explosive facts the West doesn't want you talking about, because Libya's revenge, it's already rolling. Saif isn't just a politician, he's the human reminder of a legacy that Western intervention tried to slam the door on back in 2011. For years, the narrative was that Libya was liberated, reborn, free. But fast forward, and the country looks like someone smashed a nation into puzzle pieces and never gave people the box with the picture on it. Blackouts, tribal divisions, militia swapping cities like baseball cards, and that's exactly where the Gaddafi legacy started crawling back. Libyans began whispering about the old days, free education, full hospitals, salaries that didn't play hide and seek. Even young Libyans who never lived under Gaddafi started asking, "Hey mom, dad, was life actually better back then?" And the older generation would respond with that long, tired sigh that tells you everything. At least we had a country. That nostalgia didn't just sit there, it grew. It became a force. It became the first spark of Libya's revenge, and Saif was the face of it. But nostalgia alone doesn't scare the West. What did Saif do next? That's where things get spicy. When a single photo of Saif al-Islam Gaddafi resurfaced online looking alive, calm, and strategically observant, the internet exploded like someone had plugged Libya's history into a power socket. Western media smirked, rolled their eyes, made little snarky headlines, but behind closed doors, diplomats suddenly sat up straight. Intelligence briefings got thicker. Questions started flying. What if he really comes back? And that's the thing. Western governments understand a truth they don't say out loud. You can kill a man, but you cannot kill an idea, and you definitely can't kill the memory of a country that used to function. Saif's reappearance wasn't a rumor, it was the opening act of something bigger. And speaking of bigger, let's talk about the treasure chest at the center of all this. Libya isn't just an oil country, it's one of Africa's energy giants, a jackpot of black gold. Under Gaddafi, oil profits funded the people. After 2011, not so much. The nation's wealth was sliced up like a pizza at a birthday party nobody invited Libyans to. Foreign companies grabbed contracts, militias hijacked terminals, offshore accounts swallowed billions. Western leaders called it stabilization, but Libyans had another word: robbery. Saif al-Islam's quiet diplomatic moves across the oil crescent flipped the whole script. He started reconnecting with key tribes that controlled the pipelines. These tribes remember when profits went straight into their pockets, not into foreign hands. His plan? No middlemen, no Western advisors. Libya for Libyans. And right there is why Europe is sweating bullets. Because when you mess with the money, you mess with the entire world order. If Libya reclaims full control of its oil, it's not just a victory, it's a geopolitical earthquake. European countries depend heavily on North African oil and gas. France, Italy, and even parts of Eastern Europe have energy strategies tied to Libya's pipelines. Saif's comeback threatens decades of Western influence built on helping Libya manage its resources, which is a fancy way of saying we get access. If Libya pulls a full reversal, Niger, Mali, and Chad, all watching with eagle eyes, might follow suit and kick Western economic influence straight out the door. Europe's nightmare scenario isn't a war, it's an Africa that doesn't need them anymore. And that brings us to the heart of Saif's secret weapon, his father's continental dream. Muammar Gaddafi's ultimate dream wasn't just about Libya, it was about a united Africa. One currency, one military, one political front strong enough to negotiate with the West on equal footing. For that dream, he was labeled a threat. For that dream, he was eliminated. But dreams don't die when the dreamer does. Saif al-Islam has quietly stepped back into that ideological arena. He's not giving fiery stadium speeches. He doesn't need to. His presence alone revives his father's Pan-African heartbeat. Meanwhile, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have already ditched old colonial ties and are building their own new alliances. If Libya joins, the balance of power between Africa and Europe flips like a coin tossed in the wind. And guess who's paying attention to this shift? Western intelligence agencies, and they don't like what they're seeing. Western intelligence memos, the ones that never make it to public news, have one thing in common. They describe Saif al-Islam as a methodical, strategic, patient operator, not chaotic, not impulsive, calculated. He's rebuilding alliances with tribal leaders, ex-military officers, business elites, and former Gaddafi-era technocrats. They call him a threat to stability, but that's code for something else, a threat to Western influence, because if Libya gets strong without foreign intervention, the whole narrative collapses. And speaking of narratives, some stories are being buried on purpose. Have you noticed something weird? With everything happening, Saif's rise, Africa's shift, tribal alliances, new oil deals, mainstream Western media barely touches it. They love chaos stories, they love war stories. But Libya rising again? Nope, silence. Editors are told to minimize coverage, keep the comeback whispers quiet. Chaos justifies foreign aid, military bases, and diplomatic pressure. Stability makes Western involvement look, well, unnecessary. And believe me, unnecessary is the last thing they want to look like. But Libya's silence ends when the people speak, and oh boy have they spoken. Saif isn't some nostalgic figure, he's a political force gaining real traction. Every blackout, every fuel line, every militia checkpoint fuels the legend of the Gaddafi era. And Libyans aren't just remembering, they're mobilizing. Tribal elders, youth movements, ex-Gaddafi loyalists, and even neutral citizens are uniting around one idea. Libya needs a strong hand. Saif's face is becoming a symbol not of dictatorship, but of unfinished history. History Libyans want to correct. And if you think that support is just local, think again. Nations across the Sahel, from Mali to Niger to Burkina Faso, are breaking away from Western influence. They're forming their own alliances, expelling foreign troops, and reclaiming control over their resources. These countries see Saif not just as a Libyan candidate, but as a symbol of African sovereignty. If Libya joins this movement, you end up with a strategic line of nations stretching from the Mediterranean down into the Sahel, all energy-rich, all independent, and all done with Western control. That's the geopolitical nightmare scenario keeping policymakers up at night. Which leads us to the final, most explosive fact. This isn't about coups. It's not about militias. It's not even about Saif himself. It's about an idea, a revival that cannot be bombed, sanctioned, or silenced. Libya is awakening, Africa is shifting, and the same powers that once shaped the region in their image are now scrambling to understand what comes next. Saif stands at a crossroads, redemption or ruin. If he succeeds, Libya becomes the heartbeat of a new Africa. If he fails, the country risks falling back into the chaos the world once applauded. Either way, the West no longer controls the narrative. Libya is writing its own next chapter. And trust me, the next chapter is going to be wild. If you want real news with real guts, hit that subscribe button, slam that like, and ring that bell so you never miss what the mainstream networks won't tell you. And hey, we're a family here. Show some love to our sister channels for kids entertainment and learning, Sparkling Kids and Rema Fatia. Let's grow together, learn together, and be a voice for each other.